Good morning, good morning. This is your boy, Mr. Ledger himself, Mr. Ledger in the house. And companies like humans are living organisms or they are living beings. And each living being, at times there are things that we see on the face, and there are things that are deeply ingrained within them that we don't see. So the facade that we see in businesses is the same facade that we see in people. Those of you that are familiar with the whole concept of the submerged iceberg, all humans and all companies, they actually ascribed to that principle, except that they don't consciously say we want to resemble a submerged iceberg. What is a submerged iceberg? Iceberg. Let's assume there is this lump of ice, a massive, gigantic lump of ice in a sea. Around it, there will be some normal liquid water, but the iceberg will be the calcified, or let me say the ice that would have solidified. And as it solidifies, it starts from the bottom or from wherever it starts, and only a small tip protrudes on the surface of the water. So when you don't know, you can actually see something as a small piece of ice that is possible floating on water, when in reality its roots or it sinks so deeper in the water that it's so gigantic at the bottom and only a tiny portion is visible to a naked eye. So most of the ships, as soon as they see an ice, even the giant Titanic, as soon as, because the giant Titanic at one point, not at one point, actually collapsed just because it hit an iceberg. So most of the captains, when they see an iceberg from a distance, they will see that it's probably so tiny, so minute compared to the vessel that they are in charge of. But they know that beneath the water, there are so many things that they cannot see. And if they choose to ignore those things, that ship or vessel is going to hit hard against the iceberg, and it's going to it's going to sink. So an iceberg in organizational theory or in change management or in organizational culture, simple means there are those things that you will see about an organization on the face of it, and there are so many things that you're not going to see. So as you go to an interview, remember you've been invited to an interview, you want to work for that company. There are things that you can glean from whatever is written or said by that company. But whatever is said by that company in most instances is comes from the perspective of that company. The company shares with you what they want you to read about them. Yes, in the days of social media, some people might say some negative stuff about the company, but the sentiment that we always get about a specific company, it is always all the good things about the company. Why? Because even their employees, in most instances, they are not supposed to write the bad things about the company. Probably they only write the bad things about the organization once they've left it. And in most instances, companies, they quickly dismiss that as sour grapes. Right. But so then now you've been accepted, you have to go through an interview. Once you get there are so many things that you won't know about that organization, irrespective of how much they tell you. Let me tell you a very good example. They are going to sell you their vision, they are going to tell you about their strategy, they are going to tell you about what their supposed culture looks like. They will share with you their goals and their objectives, their shared values, and tell you this is how we do things here. But the reality, It is not how the things are done there. This is how they want to portray, or they want the market to view them as they represent one, two, three. But the reality in most instances is that structures, the belief system, the perceptions, the values that bind them together, the norms, the unwritten rules, the procedures, maybe before you get to do something, you need to get your boss's approval. Maybe before you even go and make tea, you need to get your boss's approval. Or somebody decides that today you're going to have tea with milk and tomorrow you're going to have black tea. Somebody probably controls that. But this is something that you will never know during the interviewing stage. There are many stories, even the feelings. We are not going to sense the feelings of how the employees. Is there such a camaraderie? I mean, is there such a spirit de corps? Do people really want to belong? Do people think they really belong in these organizations? All those things we are not going to be able to see. But in reality, these are the things that are going to make your life enjoyable or horrible once you move to that company. But you are not going to find during the normal interviewing phase. The company's traditions. How does a company react when it's faced with hardships? There was COVID. Many companies reacted differently. If you approached those companies just prior to COVID, they would have told you that we are resilient and we support our employees. Then COVID hits. The first thing that they do, okay, no, the business is not in good shape. We are immediately laying off staff, or probable. Yes, we know there is COVID, but our business requires you to be here. You're going to work, and irrespective of the transmissibility of COVID, you still not probably not have to face. You don't need to wear a mask because of one, two, three. But prior to it, they said our our concern. But now the reality has come. Now they are tested, because now you need to see what they really believe in, their traditions. Some they might say, we believe in flexible working arrangements. We believe now that now COVID has come to disrupt the way people do business, the way people interact with their work and interact with their colleagues. It has revolutionized how we do work, or how people execute their work. Certainly, the lockdown restrictions are lifted, and then they say immediately, come to the office tomorrow. If you don't come to the office tomorrow, you will be fired. I think you are all familiar of a famous company in the United States led by a famous being, famous rich billionaire, that said, you ought to return to the office soon. If you don't, serious repercussions. But prior to that, everybody never believed that such a thing would happen, because the company seems to be selling the idea or the notion that they care about their employees. They embrace the modern ways of doing business, the modern ways of work. So there will be the visible organizational practices, and so much invisible organizational practices that are going to impact you. And the invisible ones, you will never know at an interviewing stage. Probably you will never know in the first few weeks of your life in that organization. Just like humans, most of you probably have gone on a date. You go on a date with somebody. He's not going to tell you that he's a serial killer. That's why most serial killers, they always find a way to mask up and prey on their victims, because they don't show their cannibalism or their cannibalistic trait straight in the face meeting. They show as loving gentlemen. They show as kind, romantic, the people that know how to serenade a lady, or whatever, to their hideout. You will start to see their true colors. You will always face such circumstances or such situations where the facade, what you see, is not what it is. But then the question is, how then do you get to know? How then do you get to know the true values and the true belief system of somebody? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer. You will never know. Some people trust their gut, and their guts has never let them down. But I can tell you, if your gut says don't trust somebody, probably it's better to follow your gut than to believe what that person says. Because the person consciously decides to tell you what they want to tell you because they know you always want to hear good things about. So, to all those that are going to be attending interviews, my message to you is the facade that they will put to you, don't just believe it. At times, follow your gut. If your gut says, fine, align with these people, and I can assure you, your gut is going to lie to you many times. But at least you lied to yourself, or your gut lied to you. You did not believe the lie or the misinformation that they gave. And some of the misinformation, it is not intentional. It is because, let me give you an example. Let me give you a very good example. When people they meet for the first time, there are so many things that are deemed immaterial that they never get discussed. It is not that they were not there. Maybe if you had discussed them, you might have seen how nerved somebody is suddenly becomes. Because as soon as you touch a nerve, as soon as you touch on something that somebody fundamentally disagrees, you might see the reaction in his face. But if those things are not discussed, you will never know. But it does not mean that the person lied to you, but it's because the process itself is is flawed to the extent that it conceals the vital information that is needed for decision making. You will always be confronted with such situations. So, dear job seekers, my fellow job seekers, those that are still looking for that organization that they want to partner with, there are things that you'll never know. There are so many things that you'll never know because companies will always put a facade, some intentionally, some unconsciously. It's up to you how you decide to align with whichever company you want to align with. I can't tell you what you need to do. I trust my gut. Thank you. Right, that was your boy, Mr. Ledger himself. Thank you so much. As I sign out, today is a rainy day. Well, it's a rainy day. Most of us are getting on with our business. Subscribe, tune in for more information. Thank you.